Wow. Okay. Okay. Oh, there we go.
And there we are.
Great.
Am I frozen?
There's no one talking.
I'm talking. Well, you talking?
I'm here.
Is Daniel going to introduce the show?
I was
Hello,
gonna say,
everyone.
Daniel gonna say something? Yeah.
So
How do
Oh,
we
I
start?
can't hear you, Daniel.
So how
You're
you
muted,
all?
You're
Daniel.
muted. You're mute.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
You're muted.
Can we? Are you say something, Daniel?
There he is.
All right, guys.
Okay.
Now we are live.
I was going crazy there.
Yeah,
See, that's what
I
happens when we go
wanted to
live.
I wanted to put the video, and I put the new intro to start, and I don't know what the hell happened. So I'm pretty sure did you guys see the intro video?
Yeah.
I did, but I think that when you played it, it didn't get caught into the live feed because the minute it finished, it hit live, and then you were like kind of like muted. So like we're all kind of waiting around for you to introduce the show. So something happened, it got hung up or something.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like doing it on the tablet, there's always something that happens, and I just added the new video. So, anyways, if you guys saw some of the part of the new intro video, welcome to the Sci-Fi Society, everybody. There's already shit going on in the beginning, so
And he's not
thank
even
you all.
drinking.
Yep, and
Right?
thank you all, everybody who's watching, everybody who's here. We are the Sci-Fi Society, and of course, joining me, my crew, DJ Neko, DJ Anubis from Metal Tavern Radio, Jedi Granville, Kevin Lambert from Entertainment HQ, and we're still waiting on the Omni viewer, so he's probably caught up on something. But once he lets me know that he's in, I'll add him to the stream. So here we go, guys. This is the Sci-Fi Society, Volume 14, and we are going to be talking about our 4 most influential scenes for the Toho Showa classic 1964 film Mothra vs. Godzilla, aka Godzilla vs. the Thing. So before we get started, though, I wanted to add something just to add a little more spice to the stream since there's already freaking mishaps already happening in the beginning. So give me a second, guys. Let me know if you can hear it.
Yeah.
Had to add this. I love this score by Akira
Very
Takuga.
beginning of it. Very. I don't know why. I just love it when it starts.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add that to the stream. So, all right, guys. Now, since I wanted to get more, how can I say? I want to get more technical with our stream. So I'm gonna go by each one of the guests for their most influential scenes. So what I'm gonna start off with Anubis. Let me know, bro. First, we'll start off with number 1, and then I'll jump from person to person. So just let us know, man. What was your first most influential scene in this movie?
Well, influential is interesting because I don't, outside of maybe certain scenes that I saw in this film, like that I see in other films that are being made now. Like the first thing that stood out to me was the greedy businessman who bought the egg and then like was trying to wrangle up the 2 little twins. And then when he was confronted with them again, was trying to buy them off, and I'm like, that's the typical greedy asshole that we all love and hate.
I'll give you
So
$1 million.
that was like the first one that I saw that I just like it's not really influential in terms of anything good, but it's just something you always pick up in movies, and there's always the one big asshole, and that dude is it.
Yeah. No, I totally agree, man. I mean, and it's like you said, what I mean by influential is just, it's like I said earlier, this movie, like, I really love this movie. It holds a special place in my heart. But like, to me, I wanted to just talk about the the parts and the scenes that really matter to everybody here in the group in the Sci-Fi Society. So now I'll jump to Neko. Neko, what was your first, or number one, um, most influential moment? And we're gonna go by 1, 2, 3, 4.
So for me, obviously, I'm a huge Mothra fan. I love Mothra. I think she's adorable and beautiful and everything you could possibly want from a kaiju. But I think the whole aesthetic of the movie was perfect. And what I mean by that is I started watching it and I asked DJ Anubis, like, what year was this made? And he was like, what was 64 was when it was made. So I'm looking at how they have everyone dressed and the hairstyles, the suits, everything was just like perfect 60s. And I don't know if I'm the only one who really picked that up, but like even little details. Now, granted, it was made in the 60s, but like when they're all in the room together, they're all like chain smoking. The woman, she was always in a dress with a hat, and then even when they went to Infant Island and she had like the rain gear on, and then they take the rain gear from her and she's magically like perfect from head to toe with her like bouffant and her purse and her little dress, and things like that really stood out to me because it was it was a kaiju movie, but it was a 60s movie. Like they made it so that it would look like a perfect 60s movie. You would think something like a James Bond movie or something else that was really popular back in the 60s. It carried that aesthetic really well. They didn't like try to make it not, they took it seriously. It wasn't like they just said whatever, we'll just do whatever. Everything was very, very impeccably detailed.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. And remember, like, guys, like when each person talks about their say their most influential moments, anybody can add on to it. You guys can add on, and little, like the way Neko was talking about the way the costume and the wardrobe was. I mean, it was, for the time, it was really, they, like Neko said, they took it seriously. They wanted to, I guess, Ishiro Honda and Akira Fukube and Eiji Tsuburaya and Tomiyuki Tanaka wanted to really make this movie as, I guess you could say, fantastical, but yet keep a serious tone in it. And I think the wardrobe added to that, as Neko was saying. And I mean, yeah, I agree, Neko, honestly, man, for real. And then thank you, Big Bad Wolf. I'm going to get to the comments. Little Loki, Jake Hall, Brian Sanchez. Thank you guys all for joining the stream. And now we'll get to Kevin. Okay, Kevin Lambert from Entertainment HQ. Let us know what was your number one, man. Your number one,
right.
your first most influential.
For me personally, I quite enjoyed when, you know how Godzilla, he awakens and there's the mud and he comes out of the ground and then he goes towards the buildings, and then there's that famous castle, and he doesn't destroy the castle. He basically stumbles on the castle, gets pissed off, and decides to wreck it. After that, there's that scene where obviously they want Mothra to basically come back and fight, obviously, Godzilla, and they go to the island with the Shobin, and they see like the aftermath of the nuclear bombs and stuff. I thought that was very poetic, because it basically was a reconnection to 1954 Godzilla, with how, you know, they showed still the aftermath years later, and how it had even affected the people on the island, you know, where Mothra lived. I found that fascinating, and I found it a great touch and a great kind of footnote of that. Even it's years later, from 1954, after the Hiroshima bombs, that even that small tiny detail, it was in there, and it kind of also kind of made you look at Godzilla and think of, you know, the aftermath of what happened in 1954 still happening. And I thought it was a great way to like look back at the history of Hiroshima with the bomb, but it was also a great way to look at the history and the past of what Godzilla had done. It was like, you know, a continuation, and it's little things like that I always look for in film or television, like these little
Yeah.
connections that, like, you know, add up the dots, as it is, of the history. And for me, that was very important, and I'm glad that they did that. And obviously, like I mentioned before, this is my second one, which is all connected to that. Is right at the beginning when you saw Godzilla come out of the ground, and it zooms in on his eyes, and he looks pissed off because he's literally someone's woke him up from a nasty nap or something. It looks like. So that for me is my iconic moment, and the one that stands out the most because of its connection to the past films.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, I totally agree, man. I thought, yeah, I totally agree. It's like this is what this film to me is what led up to the famous Ghidorah three-headed monster, because it gave that vibe of, okay, now it's Godzilla, and Godzilla faced, you know, Mothra, and then of course the twins that hatched, and it all of that story connected. It's like you said, like it was just the beginning of what, you know, the Toho universe expands with Rodan, Ghidorah, Mothra,
Well, I
Godzilla.
call this, yeah. Well, I kind of call this the chapter one of the Godzilla Showa era trilogy, because the
Yeah.
next three films all connect, and they've all, they're the three, for me, three of the most influential films within the Showa era, like from the beginning. And that's obviously Godzilla versus Mothra. Then you've got Ghidorah, the three-headed dragon, and then you've got Invasion of the Astro Monsters. And it's one long continuing story. And another reason I love them so much is right now everything's about shared universes or connecting. You know, Star Wars has expanded. You've got obviously Marvel, where it would be one hero on his own now. You know, Avengers, Guardian, and they've all come together in Infinity War and, you know, Endgame. These guys started it way back in the 60s, shared universes. You had Rodan as a separate movie, you had Varan as a separate movie, Mothra as a separate movie, Godzilla, and then these movies, these three particular movies, was the beginning of starting the shared universes. So, fuck you, Marvel. The kaiju did it first, baby.
I honestly, the same thing what you said when he stumbled at the beginning. I'm like, you know what? You guys are awful mean to Godzilla. He just fell and hurt himself, and now you just want to blow him up? Come on,
That was
man.
my second scene, man. That was my second influential
Oh,
scene.
no.
It's where the comedy starts. Like, you know, he's doing this, crash into your building. I didn't mean to do it, man. Why are you guys
Like,
shooting
Then
at
he
me?
just
What the
yells
fuck?
out.
Yeah,
I remember.
he literally wakes up, he digs himself out of the mud. There's that scene where the camera zooms on his face, and he's like, I've just fucking woke up, I'm shattered. Where's me coffee? Where's me metal radio tavern fucking coffee? And then he gets shot at, and he's stumbling, like, you know, and then he stands on something, and he falls, and he lands into the building, and he doesn't destroy the building because you know, he's angry. He falls into, he destroys it out of pure frustration because he stumbled and fell over.
Yeah.
And it's
Oh, yeah, and see, and
it's
that's-
little funny quirks like that.
Oh, I know. That's what makes it
No, but-
like
It's like little
classic.
funny quirks like that that make the funny hilarious.
And you know what? Remember, not only that, the tower fell on him. You guys remember?
Yeah, he's pissed off.
Yeah, like there's Lone Wolf Ronin. Thanks for showing up, brother, to the stream and everything. What's up, Hit Squad, baby? Consensus. We're gonna run that. Remember? And yeah, so okay, now we'll jump to Jedi Grand Bell, man. Let us know your number one first. Then we'll go to number 2, number 3, number 4. So what's your first?
Daniel, 1 second. Can you kick me out and let me log back in a second? Because I'm like freezing and I think there's something wrong with my computer, so I don't want to screw up the rest of your stream. I'll come back in a second.
Okay, cool. Give me a second.
Kick me out. Kick me out.
Okay, we'll bring Neko back in. Okay, so
we'll just wait till she comes back.
No, I'm just gonna go to
Yeah.
the stream item.
okay, so now the Omni viewer, I'm gonna add him back. He made it, so that's great.
Cool.
Hey everyone, sorry I got the times mixed up.
Okay, good. Now there he is, the man of the hour, the Omni viewer, the kaiju specialist, the the sci-fi veteran, the Omni viewer. Thank you for showing up, man. No problem. You know, time, stuff like that, it happens, man. But just glad you were able to make the stream.
To paraphrase, when they introduced Marilyn Monroe on JFK's birthday, the late Omni viewer and Snappy Chapeau.
Yes, Snazzy also. Welcome, Snazzy. Welcome, Omni viewer. And yeah, we're just we're barely getting to the number 1. Like I said, we're going by number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4 most influential. So I'm gonna head it to Jedi Grand Bell, and then we'll add Neko back in. We'll add Neko back in when she's ready. So take it away, Jedi Grand Bell. What was your?
I was gonna say, you want me to wait for it? We good. I mean, I don't. Ain't no big deal. But
Keep going.
But no, it's actually added on to news. What he was talking about, with the big businessman, trying to capture your twins. But to add on to that, I feel that scene, like so many other things in the, especially it's really at the beginning of the film, where you see the egg. We see people trying to say make $1,000 out of this. It's basically showing how human beings try to capitalize on so many things. And that scene where they say we bought this egg from these fishermen, and then it's like, okay, we're gonna randomly, and they get you think about it, they get short change because they buy it for like a billion yen. But he's gonna say we're gonna make a 50 million yen off of this. And I'm just like, boy, y'all just taking something that is not even yours and really trying to, as I say, capitalism at its worst. If you think about it, worst or best, depending on your point of view. And he's just running with it, I mean, he's just like trying to eat it up, trying to make more out of a little thing, which is really a big thing, the egg is. But it's like, wow, you are really going all out trying to make millions off of this, and you don't give a damn about the side effects of what this could cause. I mean, because the egg is actually something that the twins are saying, like, you must give it back to us, because if something, which you will, hatch, it's going to cause great damage. Like if you go back to the original Mothra, he was trying to get the twins because they were kidnapped, but it's like, y'all are trying to make money off of something that is not for you to do. You're violating the laws of nature, basically. So that is just an add-on to what News was saying. But it's just showing that our man is so damn greedy, he'll go to any length, and that character there he was just so impactful. Like, he's so snarky, he's just so good. I want to slap his ass. It's like it's crazy how
He's like
that
the
scene
Japanese
made me
Monopoly man.
yeah. I mean, he's just that kind of that character. Really, I just feel like this. I'm glad when he gets this just due, but it just shows how bad capitalism is going to the wrong way, and that particular scene really is one of the more influential for me for that movie.
Does anybody else like when they're pulling out the twins in the box, like start pulling out the 7 quote, like, "What's in the box? Tell me what's in the box.
What's in the box?
Tell me what's in the box."
Maybe that was what was in the box.
Yeah.
Like,
And 7, it wasn't a head, it was the twins.
right? I completely agree with you, Jedi. Like, and his look too, with the really weird mustache and everything. And there was this, back to my aesthetic thing. He had this coat with a fur collar, and I'm like, look at this dude. This is like a 60s pimp rich dude look. Like, the whole time I'm like, this is such a 60s movie, and I love it.
Well, he apparently doesn't have anything on Omni. Omni's really pimping out tonight, baby.
I know, right?
Right? But that's that. Like Neko said, what Jedi said. Yeah, I mean, like you said, capitalism, greed, man. Like he's gonna, and it sucks. He doesn't even pay the guys. I mean, he doesn't even get paid, and the workers, the ones who actually hauled the egg onto the freaking shore, didn't even make it. They didn't get paid anything, and that's what is even worse. Like I said, it's the 7 deadly sins, man. It's like, I mean, maybe just about 3 or 4 of them on here. But it's just a reminder of 7 deadly sins: greed, lust, sloth, rage. Pride and all that. But that was a good take. That was a good take, Jedi. And now I also wanted to. I'm going to the comments, and I'm wanted to acknowledge Sci-Fi Nerds. Donald, what's up, bro?
Sci-Fi
Thanks for
Nerds.
stopping by. Sci-Fi Nerds, and then the Punk Octuscribe. Okay, what's up, man?
Taku Scribe.
Yeah, okay, yeah, there you go. Yep, Omni's got swagger. Oh yeah, man. I mean, of course he has swagger, man. If he's not always dressed professional, I mean, come on.
Real.
No, but yeah, guys. But I mean, like I said, all your first ones, and then, before I get to me, let me get to Omni's. Let me get to Omni's. Like I said, 1, 2, 3, 4. His first most influential moment, and then I'll give mine, and then we'll go to number 2. So, okay, good. Take it away, Omni. What was your number 1?
No,
it's a difficult choice. I actually, I probably should have ordered them, but I do think that one of the obvious things is the speech that they give on Infant Island when they're trying to convince everyone to let Mothra help them. Although, have you ever contrasted the original dialogue of it to the English dub dialogue? Because it's very different. Like,
oh no, we watched the subtitles. We didn't watch English dubbed.
Well, I watched them both just because I wanted the comparison. But
yeah,
and of course that means I got a whole extra scene. But it's interesting the way they contrast the way those two scenes contrast, because like in the English dub, it's very much we need to help each other because human beings must help each other, and that's the right thing to do. But in the original dialogue, I think some of A.G. Superaya's Catholicism might have snuck in there, because at least according to the subtitles on the Classic Media DVD, they keep referring to God with a capital G, even though Mothra is there as well. It makes you wonder what the exact cosmology is meant to be. But like it's like the English dub is very humanist. The original dialogue is not necessarily religious, but certainly spiritual.
Yeah, and I remember she even made a comment about like even bad people deserve to live.
Yeah, it's like I think that's actually more of a watered down thing than like most people would say in Godzilla movies. Like people say the American edit of the original Godzilla was watered down, but this I think was another example because it went places that you wouldn't expect a Godzilla movie to go, particularly in that scene. But yeah, that was the first one.
That makes a lot of sense, man. And like I said, the Omni viewer, man, always going deep. I'm saying going deep into the detail, for the information of any kind of kaiju film, whether it's sci-fi, Godzilla, anything like that. And that's why, like, having him on these streams, man, is, to me, it's very inspiring and it's very informative. And that's why I love having him on the streams. So thanks, Omni, for that. You know that, yeah. Yeah, you tell him, Snazzy. You tell him. But I'll go to mine, and mine's gonna be a little more, of course, like I said, we start off with, the big old storm, Mothra's egg, and then Godzilla being washed in with the storm and everything. But my first.
Thank you for saying that, because I kept saying, why the hell is Godzilla buried? What is he doing? Like, it just, I could not put two and two together. And then I was like, maybe it had something to do with the storm. And he's like, I don't know. So thank you for confirming.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I mean, I watched this movie like 4 times within the span of 2 days because I really wanted to have it pretty much burned into my mind, and that's why God, not only was Mothra's egg from Infant Island, washed away at sea, Godzilla was also washed into where the flooding or the tsunami or the storm, was let up, where all of that, where the water had to get pumped out. And then once the water was pumped out, that's where, Godzilla decided to wake up from a nasty sea hangover. So that's probably what it really was. But no, yeah. But now I'll just try to make this quick. But honestly, my number one, like I said, I'm going in order of the film. I'm going by 1, 2, 3, 4 as the film progresses. So with my number one, it was when everyone, Akira Takarada's character, Ichiro Sakai, and Junko Nakanishi and Professor Sonosuke Miura went to Infant Island to try to get Mothra's aid to battle Godzilla. And then it was the part where this part is really what gets me, because it's a barren wasteland due to nuclear fallout from the testing and everything like that. So there was one.
Yeah, well, that's why it was.
Yeah, there was one little small oasis of beauty and water and vegetation that was the only part that was sustaining that island. And that's when we catch the Shobajin singing probably my all-time favorite song, which is Sacred Springs. So that's what really got me for the first scene. And then from there, the people there, the Akira Takarada's character and Junko and them, they were trying to persuade the natives and the Shobajin to see if Mothra can help them. And then this is when it gets, to the point where the natives and the Shobajin are like, why should we help you? You guys did not return the egg. You guys treated us like crap. You're all about greed, and you're all about just thinking about yourselves and everything like that. But then
it was why should we trust you?
Yeah. And it was Junko's character who started to really ask and really tell them, almost begging, saying, look, we know that we did wrong, but not all of us are evil, not all of us are bad, not all of us are greedy, not all of us are about just ourselves. There's other people. We have to come together. We have to take care of ourselves. So it's like, okay, yeah, let's do this. And then
why. Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Kevin.
So this is kind of why it's like, for me personally, that was why all of that really connects and is like my favorite scene. Like we chose first, number one influential, because it starts off when they get to the island and they see the destruction of the atomic, testing, and then it leads to this beautiful oasis. And then after that, like you see, they're asking the Shobin and the village people for help. And then they have the great, conversation. Well, yous are just selfish, yous destroy everything. And it's a perfect combination of everything linked together within them few scenes. Because, like I mentioned before, you had, the after effects of Hiroshima, the nuclear bomb, the past with Godzilla from the 1954 film. It's still kind of resonating. And then you have this beautiful oasis, and then they're having these discussions about the selfishness of man and how, you just destroy everything and blah, 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 blah. And basically, it's just a beautiful combination of one long scene, from destruction to beauty to deep conversations of, what man has done in the past, what man potentially could do in the future, and then obviously begging for the help of Mothra.
It is. You're right. It's very poetic because Mothra is just like the circle of life herself. So, the whole story about this, it starts with, destruction, and it really ends with like new life.
Yeah. No, yeah, and then like I said, adding to that, what Kevin was saying, adding to the scene, that's when the Shobujin actually seem, I guess they feel some kind of remorse for the way Junko was literally almost begging them to help, and then they end up the Shobujin end up hearing Mothra. Mothra, does her little roar, and then they go to her, they sing to her, and then that's when, and they show that Mothra is already dying, like she's literally she's gonna die soon. So, but she does, I guess she might have, I mean, I'm not saying she did, but I'm saying as far as like in a fantasy type of way, Mothra heard their plea and said, well, you know what, let me help you, I'll help you. Not only that, she has to go and defend her egg. So it's a double-edged sword. She has to go to fight Godzilla, but yet she has to go and defend her offspring. She has to defend the egg. So that's what really got me for my number one most influential scene. So now I'll move it back on to.
That's kind of been Mothra's calling card since this movie. Is she's the one that always ends up answering the call first, generally. So even in the legendary Monsterverse, that's something that they applied to her.
Yeah, of course, man. Exactly, bro. Like, and then I mean, you just said it right there, and now. And now we'll go to your take, man. No, go ahead, Kevin.
No, I was just going to say she also does it in the next film. Get her the three-headed dragon. She's the first one that decides to go against Ghidorah, and then the two boys, Rodan and Godzilla, are like, we can't let this fucking chick do all the fighting for her. We can't, we need to join the fight. We need to go and kick some monster three-headed dragon ass. We can't just leave it up to the chick.
Right.
And then they kind of join in after she's basically running off to take on Ghidorah by herself.
Sometimes we need a little help, right?
Oh, what happened to Jedi? Oh, he jumped off. Oh, we'll bring him back on. But go ahead, DJ Nubis, your turn on your number 2, man.
I mean, a lot of the stuff that I picked up in this film, not even so much from a political or social standpoint, but you notice certain things in the film that are applied in other films. And so I was kind of joking with NECA while watching it again like an hour or so ago that there's a scene where Godzilla's like walking behind the mountain and he's kind of peeking over and everyone's kind of like running and scrambling. And we see that again later on. I think it's MGK is where he shows up in that as well, doing the same thing. And but I noticed it more like it wasn't just that, but like even when he came out of the ground in the dirt, like his tail was the first thing to come up. And the first thing I was saying to myself is, looks a little like Shin there, just in the water. So it's kind of interesting, some of the influence when it comes to like scenes and how the monsters are reacting with the humans and everything else. So.
Remember when they were leaving, and everybody's freaking out, and people are scurrying and scurrying. I'm like, you guys got like 5 hours. Godzilla is slow.
Right?
And that really
Godzilla's
cracked
just
me up.
taking a stroll in the park, and they're like all running and everything else. But I was thinking also because like you're short, so it would take you just as long as it would him to get through the city.
To get through the city, I'll scurry around. Mm-mm-mm.
Yeah, no, that's a good one, man. It is a good scene, man. That it's like I said, it's like he just got out, like he's hungover, bro. He's looking like, oh my god, and what a rough night at sea, man. I can't find my sea legs, and it's like, so. Oh yeah, man. But okay, so we're having trouble bringing. I don't know what's happening with Jedi Grand Bell, so I'll see what happens. I'll work on that. So, Neko, you're number 2.
This is kind of like a funny scene that stuck out to me like a lot. So when Godzilla was first like announced, oh Godzilla, and they're like making the call, everybody Godzilla, Godzilla. There was like 4 teeny tiny fire trucks that just left, and I'm like, those fire trucks are not going to do anything against Godzilla. I'm like, there's not even any water on those fire trucks to put out any fire. What are those teeny tiny fire trucks going to do to help us? But they were just like right towards Godzilla, and I looked at him. I'm like, I know they're doing this because, again, they're fire and rescue, but it was just so funny to me because I'm like, Godzilla would just step on them.
Well, yeah, I think that was the implication, is that they were there more for rescuing people. But it is funny that they didn't even really get to any of the tanks or anything like that till later on.
The tanks.
It wasn't the first thing that came out of the gates, it was like the fire trucks.
The fire trucks. That was it. That was just a funny scene that stuck out to me.
Okay. No, I mean, it was funny, man. I mean, like all of these. See, that's what I'm saying. Like the scenes that I knew we were gonna come up with these 4 scenes or these most influential scenes is because I know they're not always gonna be the same. Not all of us are gonna have similar interest in some of the same scenes. I mean, some we probably will, but not all of them. Not all of them we won't. So. But now I'll go. Okay, now jumping it to Kevin. What was your number 2?
Right, so this bit I loved because for me it's like, the villain gets his comeuppance. So it's the scene when Kumayama, he goes to confront Torahata at the hotel, and they end up he ends up attacking him. They end up having a fight, and then he gets shot. Torahata shoots Kurayama, and he's getting his money. He's just a greedy, nasty person. And then he gets justice prevails when Godzilla attacks the hotel. And obviously he attacks the hotel and he crushes it and destroys the hotel. I love that scene because, one, you had a mini fight between 2 humans, 2, characters. One's kind of seen the error of his ways but gets shot, and the other one's just a greedy a-hole. And in the end, nature takes its course and justice prevails, and Godzilla deals him the final blow and crushes him and destroys the hotel. I love that scene, and I love that part of the film because obviously everyone looked at Godzilla in a way is the main villain, but really Godzilla, I wouldn't say is the main villain. It's the human businessman who is the villain. And to see him get what he deserved and in such a amazing, brutal way by getting crushed by Godzilla in the hotel, for me, was just an amazing scene within the film. And I was clapping when I first seen that years ago, when I first seen it, Godzilla versus Mothra, and I seen what happened to him in the hotel. I was like, that's what you get for being a greedy a-hole.
Yep.
Right.
All that greed, all that concern about money, and ultimately the forces of nature just come in and they don't care.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like yes, I mean, greed.
Yeah.
I mean, they both cared about money more than their own life, man. Which was just, it was just like not something we've never seen before. I mean, but I mean, even goes back to, like I said, to even the 40s, 1940s, 50s, and I was glad, man. I was glad that they got their what they had coming, bro. They had it coming anyway. So yeah, I'm bringing back Jedi Grand Vel. So Omni, your number one.
Well, this isn't so much a moment as it is an element to the film itself, but has anyone mentioned Skeleturtle yet?
No, not yet.
What?
So
The weird little
Skeleturtle.
skeleton turtle on Infant Island, because like that's the, even though I know we've spoken about how we see the devastation of the island and whatnot, to everybody Skeleturtle stands out because ever since that movie debuted, there's been this debate about whether or not it's alive. Because like we see its head moving, it looks like it might be blinking, although I can't.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, every time I look at the film now, like I can't tell if the blinking eye is an optical illusion caused by the head moving, but at the same time, it's still moving, and that, I think that kind of drives home the real horror. I like nothing on that island that we see skeleton wise is recognizable. It makes you wonder what it was like beforehand. But Skeleturtle in particular, he's there. It looks like he's still alive, but what a state to be in, you know?
Yeah, Neko mentioned that that was like a very creepy moment.
Yeah.
And I don't know what they were doing, like when they were doing the ritual, like inside of the wall too.
Oh,
it was
that relief,
yeah.
the face.
Yeah, that looked like it was blinking as well. So
Yeah.
that was blowing my mind. I was like, wait a minute, is that blinking or am I losing my mind?
Yeah. This movie really drove home the idea that something supernatural was going on with Mothra. The first movie, if I remember correctly, they kind of played it ambiguous as to whether or not it was really supernatural or just radioactive. This pretty much drove it home. That yes, Mothra is supernatural, so is everything else on this island.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
That's a good take.
Yeah, it makes
Well,
sense.
she is
That's why he's
kind of
omnimoving.
supernatural, isn't she, in a way? Because obviously she reincarnates herself.
I mean, even
every
the fact
time.
that she's a
Soon
moth.
as she, like, you never ever see her actually. Yes. And the fact that there's never ever been a scene or anywhere in any of the films where, well, to my knowledge, it isn't, where you actually see her give birth to the egg.
I think there was in Rebirth
It's like,
of Mothra.
where the hell did the egg come from? You don't actually.
I think in Rebirth of Mothra, you see the process where like Mothra's sitting there, kind of like in this movie, atop the large altar, and like this glitter comes out of her wings, and the egg just forms. But that's not in continuity with any of the Godzilla movies. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Like, because there's been. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I just think she's like, obviously she's like the epitome of like reincarnation, isn't she? Like Mother Earth and stuff like that. She's like a combination of so many spiritual things. So she's like this. She basically is the spirit and the spirituality of the of the Godzilla Showa era, or just in general the kaiju. The kaiju genre. She's like, she brings the spirit. She brings like all of the things that we as people look to. We've all, in our own way, we all have beliefs. We've all got, a higher power. I would like to believe that we believe in whatever way or shape or form that is. And within this world, that is what she is. And because she is the spirit and the heart and Mother Earth and reincarnation, she does, in my opinion, will probably have some sort of supernatural element to her. And like you say, because of that, it makes total sense within the island. That particular scene when you see, like you said, the skeleton, what's going on there? Like,
Yeah.
and it's another mystery that is left open for us to like interpret in our own minds of what's going on.
Yeah. No, yeah, exactly, man. And no, Skeleturtle, yeah, I mean, I knew that the head bobbles and everything. That's why, yeah, I mean, I thought it was alive when I first saw it, but I mean, yeah, but that was a good one. That was a good. I thought I knew about it, but I didn't think about it. So that's a good thing you brought it. That's a good thing you mentioned it, Omni viewers. So, no, thank you. Now, Granville, Jedi Granville, what's your number? What's your number 2, man? Number 2 most
I've been missing in action, but I'm sorry about that. No, I've been having some issues. But anyway, well, we mentioned before, but it's the total scene, because I know when I first saw this film, this scene, it was totally unexpected, because I was like, okay, this is called Godzilla. When I first saw it, it was called Godzilla versus the Thing. But when you come to find out it's called Mothra versus Godzilla, it's a different story. But this scene, and like I said, we mentioned before, it's when Jinko, he notices something in the background, it's like, okay, you see something moving. And I'm just like, okay, what's going on here? And then we see the ground kind of rumbling and chumming. Then you see this spout come out, some kind of air pocket just bursts out just like that, I was like, oh shit, is this who I think this is, And then all of a sudden, that tail pops out. I was like, oh shit, this is Godzilla. Like, what? He's coming out of the ground. Like, what the hell, So I'm just like, okay, because I'm like 17 when I'm seeing this, so I'm still getting excited. I'm just like, he's coming out of the ground, and then he comes out, he's covered in dirt and everything, and then he just, like an animal, just shakes it off, and he's just like, I'm like, what the fuck am I at, It's like, okay, what's going on here? Kind of like when Neko says, like, I'm coming off a drunken stupor or something like that, But it's that scene just like made me realize, like, Godzilla can appear anywhere at any time, because you notice other incarnations where during the show, especially during the show era, he appears out of nowhere at some particular place you wouldn't expect him to see coming out. And like, this scene was a thing that maybe, and the thing about this scene was kind of special because, Mr. actor Hiro Nakajima, he said that this is kind of a difficult scene, but he had the method of saying, Godzilla is this animal, this force of nature. Like, okay, he's coming out, but he's got to like just be like anything else. He's got to take the dirt off him, kind of dust, as the saying goes, dust the shoulders off and everything. And he's like, okay, where I am now, I'm about to make some damage here. I'm about to make myself known here, And I don't think he's doing it to be just be a bad guy. I think he's just like, I'm here, but like, why am I here? Why am I even in this place? Why am I know I got blown over here by a hurricane, but like, why? So in this moment, you realize, like, okay, this moment here is going to be something trivial and it's going to be bad, but at the same time, that moment right there for me was very influential, because it's the fact that Godzilla will appear out of anywhere. You can come out of a volcano. You see him come out of the ocean many times, but hell, I'll give you a good example. He comes out of a building in one of the later
Godzilla versus Godzilla.
Yeah,
thank you. He comes out of that. I was like, what the so it lets me know that no matter where Godzilla comes out of, where he appears, it's like, hey, be prepared. It's like that's his signature. It's like, hey, I'm here. It's time to rock and roll.
Godzilla, the master of hide and seek.
Here you go.
Or we just call him Mr. Peekaboo.
Yeah.
Right? No, yeah, man. No,
you can't see
that's
me.
A good. Right?
Oh my!
Nah, man, but
I told you not to pull that shit out. Why are you pulling that shit out? Why you gotta do that?
Well, the cat was in the closet creating havoc, so
she was doing her own impression of Godzilla.
Yeah, it's like, no, but it was, I mean, that you're not the only one. I mean, Anubis actually brought that up. He had actually brought that that was one of his scenes. I think it was number 2, or he added to it. And just like you said, it was crazy that how he just came out of nowhere, and how he was, just came exactly like, oh shit, he was literally like asleep. So yeah, that was cool, man. I mean, that I when I first saw the movie, when I first saw that part, I was like, holy shit, like, oh man, like he's there. Like that's the last place you thought he would show up.
Right here.
That was fucking funny, Punk. His comment.
I didn't see it.
Right. No, I own, and I want to give. I'm onto the comments. I'm seeing them, and wanted to give big ups, big shout out to my boy, the Hit Squad, freaking Film Fanatic, Hit Squad, baby. We got consensus coming. We got consensus, bro. We got my love for you, bro. Thank you for stopping by. And yeah, man. So now I'll just go to my second, my second most influential moment, and that's when Mothra finally arrives, battles Godzilla to save her offspring, and unfortunately, how Mothra gets an early advantage until Godzilla proves to be too much for her since she's already dying. So the battle was the guy. I mean, you got to admit, man, Mothra when she came with a vengeance, dude. She literally almost came a little too late because Godzilla was actually gonna go after the egg. So she comes, literally starts just wailing on Godzilla, literally lifts him up, drags him all the way away from the egg, just starts laying a ground and pound on him, man. And that's when Mothra had the advantage. For as much as she was already on her last legs, she was very still agile in the air. She was dodging the atomic breath. She was being, just very protective of the egg, and then unfortunately, Godzilla, blast her in the face, and then end up hitting her on the wing with atomic breath, and then she eventually gets her wing burned. She pretty much utilized and gave everything she had. She used her last attack, which was her pollen poison attack, and then she gets wounded. Gets back up, knocks Godzilla over, and then she flies over to the egg, which she knows she couldn't do anything. So I guess that one last, how do you say it? That one last sign of defiance to be able to try to protect her offspring. So that was a part that was my number 2 because it was just the battle. I mean, of course, we all love the battles, man. Why do we watch Godzilla movies? Because we watch them. We want to watch the monster battles. We want to watch how.
But to add on what you're saying, Daniel, I mean, as you say, she was dying, but this is an example of showing that just because someone is dying or their life is about to be excluded, it's like, don't count them out, I mean, because it shows right there, yeah, I might be on my last leg, but it's like, you think that I don't got something left in the tank. It's like, I'm about to give you something. I'm about to give you a head crutch, and she gave it to Godzilla, I mean, yeah, he was dying, but it's like, no, I'm gonna show you something, I mean, she let him have it, regardless.
Yeah. Well, since you've brought it up, I might as well go straight in with my third influential thing and get it over with. And my third one is the sheer size of Mothra in this film, because obviously throughout the films, Godzilla's gotten bigger. And his size is varied from, different sizes. But Mothra has throughout, I believe, gotten slightly smaller. I think after this particular film, the biggest I think she was in Godzilla vs. Mothra, 1992, I believe. I think she was around the same size, if not a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller, where in this one, she's absolutely gigantic. And my third most influential scene is basically the scene where you see her grab Mothra grabs Godzilla by the tail, and she has the power to literally drag him across the floor. I don't think we've seen that since, if I'm wrong. There's other scenes in other films where she's standing over his head and she's spraying like a pollen at him, and there's little scenes like that, but I don't think there's been like a scene where she's fully went head and being able to pick Godzilla and throw him or drag him by herself. Because I think in 1992 it took her and Batra to carry him. But I don't think she's ever done it again by herself. And that for me was my third my third scene.
It was
just
mine
for the
too, Kevin.
sheer size of Mothra in this film.
Oh, wow. So it was Neko's too. Oh, yeah. Well, I was gonna add to that before, right before Kevin like read my mind, because I was gonna say that this Mothra, the Showa Mothra, in this film she was large, like she was big, like almost bigger than King Ghidorah. Like her wingspan, I could just imagine how big and huge her wingspan was. And it was freaking, and she was huge, man. And no, go ahead, elaborate.
Really good too.
Yeah, go ahead, elaborate on it, Neko.
Oh, so yeah, the camera work was really great too, to show the sheer size of Mothra, especially like the scene where you see Mothra when they're on Infant Island, and the way that they have like the people away from Mothra to like kind of make it look that they're so much smaller than Mothra. And the way she's just kind of laying, everything looks spread out. And again, the whole picking up Godzilla by his tail, that just like blew my mind, because I said the same thing to Anubis that you thought, Kevin, like, well, when has Mothra done that? Like, I can't really remember Mothra picking up Godzilla by the tail.
Well,
if the monster
it was in fact, I think Omni kind of mentioned it. Or somebody did the next movie.
Yeah.
When she goes to fight Ghidorah, she starts grabbing the tail, and Ghidorah's like waving the larvae off with the tail there. But just to elaborate on her, not so much with just the Mothra stuff, but the movie is clean, like in how it's shot.
Agreed.
And I don't know, maybe Omni knows the answer to this. Do you know what type of film they were shooting in when they shot this?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'd assume it was the standard for the industry, though. So I'd have to look it up to know for sure.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that either. I thought maybe you might have it on your brain cells there, but
I
put them on the spot.
I agree. Like, you've seen older movies like this that degrade, or if you're trying to put it on DVD, like when they're blowing it up or whatever, it just doesn't look good. And I know Anubis and I have some like VHSs that I think if you watch the VHS, it looks better than when they take it to DVD or Blu-ray, because they're doing some kind of weird like blow up and crop kind of thing to make it like full screen for the DVD. But it looks great, because you can look at some movies from the 60s or whatever that, or even from the 70s, that we've seen some of the like like some of the older Grindhouse movies, maybe like they're like grainy, and this was very smooth.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, you have a point. Like I think when I know what you mean, but what is that freaking screen? That thing that they use, what is it, 16 by something, or is it fucking, what was it?
I know what you're talking about.
They did it by 9 or whatever it is. Like, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah. Like the framing and the size. Yeah, the ratio. Yes. Thank you, Omni. Yeah, the
35 ratio.
Yeah. That I mean, I don't know if you guys remember, before they did like started doing like the widescreen and everything, they had the actual full screen versions of movies. Like DVD. So I actually preferred the full screen over the widescreen. Like, I preferred the full. Yeah, I preferred the full screen. But then when everything started going wide, you know what I mean? So it's like, like I wanted to ask Omni, what do you prefer as far as the ratio? Do you prefer when they had full screen or a widescreen? What's your like what's the one you choose, or which one do you prefer?
I don't know, because like there were times, especially back then, where it was shot in widescreen for a reason. Because, like,
Yep.
in this movie, I still remember vividly watching the full screen versions of this, like, either on VHS or if they were running on TNT's Monster Vision. Those were the days. And,
Mm-hmm.
and like, there would be times where the person talking wasn't in the shot.
Yep.
Because it was arranged for widescreen. The characters were spread out to fill the whole screen. So, I don't know.
Yeah, that's the problem, because with full screen, it looks better for us when we're watching. But if you're watching a widescreen, you're seeing more of what's going on in the picture. And Omni touched on it, like you would not see a particular person or creature or anything that's supposed to be in the scene. You're like wondering, what are they talking about? I don't see it, because you're watching the full screen and you're not realizing that there's more to it.
Ben-Hur is a perfect example because it was purposely shot in widescreen, and then like when it was put on TV or released on VHS or years down the line, you go to watch it and you see how much is actually cut off during like that very iconic race scene. So I do think it just kind of depends on like how it's shot initially, what you're going to get the most out of on your rewatch, whether it be widescreen or what's the other one, full screen ratio. I don't know the right word. But it's true.
Yeah.
It's 100% true.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point, man. Like who knows how they tried. Of course, they had to probably find some way to do it back in the 50s or 60s, but like to make it, because I mean, look to, I mean, not go off topic too long, but like look at the way the background is, like when the slaves are putting up one of the towers in Egypt. How that's so widespread out. Like I can imagine how hard that was to get a shot in, especially with that limited technology. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that makes sense. But yeah, that was a good point. That was a good point, though, Neko. Neko's on top of it. Keep drinking more. Keep drinking more.
The cat's away now, so I can drink more.
Go put the cat away.
No, that was a good one, Neko. But no, okay, so now we'll get to Nubis is number 3. Since Kevin started off, we already jumped to it. So let's go to Nubis is number 3.
Yeah, Kevin already stole mine, so I'm gonna go kick him in the nuts. But I'll elaborate on my on the whole like tail pulling thing. hey. Yeah, so obviously the Mothra pulling Godzilla's tail thing is something that we kind of noticed going forward, as I mentioned, with some of the other films. But I think one thing that I find influential about it is how Mothra has grown in terms of her dynamics as a kaiju. Like, I used to think growing up as a kid watching her films that, like, I'm sitting there saying to myself, there's just no way that 2 little pieces of larvae are going to defeat Godzilla. It's just not going to happen. But over the years, and even into the MonsterVerse now, we see how much she's evolved as a moth or a creature, a kaiju. She's got different defenses. I love the fact that the MonsterVerse gave her a stinger, and they altered the way she was. But you've seen her in the past, like with Final Wars. She has like almost like this like fiery dust or whatever that she blows through Gigan with. Just various things that she's able to do later in her evolution as a kaiju. So whatever basic things she had back in '64, it's kind of grown. And whether that goes with the supernatural part, I don't know. But it's just so awesome to see her evolve as a kaiju, because back then I was just like, she's a fucking moth, man. She ain't gonna do shit to anybody,
But think about it, not just like the supernatural part, but like if she is always being reborn into a new version of herself, then she could be a new, better version of herself. And all the years they keep happening, and there's a new egg, and then a new Mothra, and then she's always sacrificing herself because she knows that she has an egg that will keep her reborn. Maybe that's part of the story of Mothra, is that as she grows and is reborn, she has new powers.
So she's basically a Super Saiyan, is what you're saying.
She's a Super Saiyan. I think
That is
you're
kind of
100%
how
right.
her trilogy works.
It's just
Well, it is.
what was that,
Well,
Omni?
isn't there a theory? Isn't there a theory? There's a theory as. Oh,
No, go ahead, Kevin. I'll get to
did
Omni right
someone
now.
say something? Oh,
No, go.
oh. Uh, so there is a theory every time Mothra dies that the spirit of that incarnation and the memories and everything of that version of Mothra goes into the next. So she keeps all of her previous memories as well as experiences, and that's how I think as well. Not only does she evolve and grow to be a better version of herself, but she learns by her mistakes. So every time she faces a foe, she's seen the error of the mistakes she's made in the past, and she doesn't duplicate them. But the one thing she always duplicates is sacrificing herself for the greater good, which is part of her story
greater
and her
good.
journey. And that is, yes. And has everyone done their third moment?
Yes, I've done my
Is
No, I don't
Not
think
yet.
so. I think
Wait a minute, no,
I've done
Jedi
my
hasn't,
I gotta
and Omni
gotta get to
hasn't.
Omni
Omni.
hasn't. There's a lot to have it.
get to
Yeah,
Omni.
you're
and then I'm
not
gonna
jumping
get
the
to.
gun, Kevin. You hold your ass right now, okay?
Because he's going to steal all of ours.
I'm holding my ass.
Okay, so
I like how he says ass like us.
so
Oh god.
okay, so I'll go to
Ass.
Omni and Omni. What's your number 3, Omni?
How about the shot they left in where the Godzilla head catches fire when they're bombarding him? You gotta love moments like that. Like
Yeah.
like I've said in the past, I'm not a special effects snob, but you could never get something like that with CGI. It's the only only the sort of thing that can happen with practical effects where something goes wrong, the suit catches fire, but you keep rolling, and when you're looking back over it, you're like, you know what? I like it. We're leaving it in.
Oh, I noticed that. I did, and I kind of like. I agree with you. You're kind of like saying, okay, he is deteriorating from being hit. So yeah, 100%.
I mean, it wasn't quite as extravagant as when it would happen again in Terror of Mechagodzilla, but I mean, like I said when I actually did my one monstrous moment for that scene, the fact that you see Godzilla catch fire in a scene and he's still going, that says a lot about him as a character, where not even when he is literally in flames will he stop. So,
well, it must have been the pre-form for burning Godzilla.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, it's. No, hold on, Jedi. I just want to add on to that too about the. Since Omni brought that up, I'll get you right now. I was gonna say that when Omni said that about him being on fire, I remember that one scene. I just want to add it, like I say, like an honorable mention when the military, go after Godzilla after he's already, he's already kind of, worn out from fighting Mothra. When they throw that giant net over him, and he literally fell on the floor in agony when he started getting electrocuted. I don't know if you guys saw that part. I don't know if you guys remember that part. Yeah, like he's literally like
fun of the military going, what is electricity going to do to Godzilla?
Is it just me, or because I don't remember the year that War of the Gargantuans came out, but they were using those like little machines that were shooting electricity out. That seemed to be a big thing around that time with the movies that I was watching with all the kaiju stuff. So is it just me, or is it just like something they were doing at the time?
Omni, can you elaborate on that?
The taser wagons, wasn't it?
Sort of, yeah.
Elaborate on what part?
Yeah, the tase, like the masers, the ones where they have like it looks like a headlight and they shoots the laser through.
Yeah.
Is that what you? Yeah.
The maser takes, you mean?
Yeah.
Those did get incorporated into more of the Gargantuas, but we sort of saw the precursor to them, I think, in Godzilla versus Monster Zero, or Invasion of Astro Monster for the purists. they weren't quite laser tanks, but you had stuff that was shooting lightning out. But
Yeah.
tis but a flesh wound.
Tis for the flesh.
That was a good one, man. That was a good one. The punk. Yeah, the punk. Oh yeah, that was good, man. That was good. But no, yeah, but yeah, I mean, I just wanted to ask because it was thanks for bringing it up, Nubis. That was a good reference, man, that I didn't think about because, like I said, that I just wanted to jump on it because, like, it's true. Like, why would Godzilla be in agony when he's being electrocuted? What's that gonna do? But for the scene, it looked like he actually fell to the ground, and I was like, holy shit, this he fell to the ground with the net and everything. So I'm like, holy shit, this dude is really like, is Godzilla really, getting electrocuted and stuff like that? But then what happens? They say, oh, turn up the electricity. What happens? They burn the generator, or the generator ends up burning the wires. They heat them up and melt them, so he ends up getting out of it or whatever. So I mean, I just wanted to bring that up because it was just something that I just thought about, that I remember. Okay, now Jedi Gravel, you're number 3, man, before we get to number 4.
Before I do my number 3, I just wanted to add on to what Omni was saying about the suit catching. I mean, his face catching on fire. There's another moment in Showa history where Godzilla's costume caught on fire. Believe it or not, it's in my favorite, Godzilla versus Megalon. It's quick, but it's when he's trying to bring Jet Jaguar out of the hole that he's in. When Megalon's trying to shoot those what you call Nig bomb blast at him, his back of his spinals get caught on fire. I don't know if you noticed that.
I think I did.
Throw that in there.
Yeah.
Also, it's been happening a lot on Ultraman Blazar, if you've been following that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, there have been several suits where an explosion goes off. There's been a little bit of a flame on the monster, and they just left it in.
I have got to see more Ultraman. I that is a blind spot for me.
Me too. I've never seen a lot of them. I saw a couple episodes, like probably a couple weeks ago, but I've never ever really watched. If you
guys have anything streaming, like
I think
a Roku
Netflix has
or whatever, stuff. I know Tubi has a lot of kaiju movies, and we're just gonna have to dig into that.
Every series is on Tubi at this point.
Really?
Every one of practically all of them except the newest ones. The newest ones are on YouTube, I think.
Oh, what, YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good old YouTube, right here. We're on the YouTube.
There you go.
There you go.
Anyway.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry. That is a blind spot for me.
All right, Jedi, you're number 3, man.
Okay, my number 3, but it's already been mentioned, but I'll just elaborate it more. When they're pleading with the Infant Islands, and they're trying to, ask him for help. This to me is something of a thing that I think Omni was talking about. How, or was it Neko? I might have been Neko. I'm lost track. Anyway, the point is how we as human beings can't let past aggression dictate the future of what's coming next. Because if you let the past give you off that kind of feeling of just saying, okay, we need to just say, lean on that more and just, forget about what's going to happen next. Like, well, then you're not going to grow. You're not going to evolve. You're not going to, really get out of that headspace. You have to learn to put all these things that have happened in the past aside and learn to forgive and just realize, and that's not so much forget, but learn to realize, like, this is not going to, that's what the past is. It's the past. The future is now, or the present is now. Whatever happens in the future, you can't let the past affect that future. And they're pleading with them, and it's like like I said, Infant Islands, they have a reason not to help. But the thing is, like, think and realize, feel with your heart, knowing that why are we leaning on that when we know that whatever the future holds, we don't know. But in this present moment in time, you can lose out, really, because, like I say, who knows what Godzilla might do, But then again, Godzilla may not be the biggest threat. It could be something down the line what man might do. But you have to learn to forgive and forget these things. Like, you have to learn to know that you can't just lean on that stuff so much, you know. And I feel that scene to me represents something that is so trivial today with a lot of people, because they lean on so many things. They can't let nothing go. And I'm just like, y'all, we're acting like kids, you know, in that sense, you know. And I'm like, to me, learn to grow and learn to live and learn to realize that let the past go and just realize, like, whatever the future holds, we got to make it better for ourselves and for the next generation that comes with that.
I agree. And I also like to kind of piggyback on that. I'm reading this book, and it is a very short book, and I don't have the heart to. It's hard to read because it's literally people who survived the Hiroshima bombs, and I find clearly Godzilla, there's all these parallels in all of the stories. So when, you know, like what you're saying, Jedi, like they're there pleading, saying, we're sorry, we want to make this right, we want to like make a better future, you know, help us, so when I was reading that book and you're hearing like the stories of all these people and all the horrors and stuff, but then there is that bright side where people do come together, and I because it's so real, I had to stop reading it. But this movie came out not that long after, you know, World War II. It really wasn't that long, and I find, again, the parallels clearly with Godzilla and all of these stories. Just it's I don't think people realize how much bigger Godzilla is than just a big lizard walking around destroying buildings. And we've really seen it in this movie, where there's so much like human interaction and heart, and even with, you know, Mothra like protecting her egg and protecting Infant Island. It's I love this movie. So
even that idea of not letting the past dictate the future is reflected in Godzilla himself as the Showa series progresses. Starts as a villain, ends the series as a hero.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
No, yeah, I mean, great points. All you guys, all the Sci-Fi Society, bro. This is why I love doing these streams with you guys, because everybody is informative. Everybody adds their 2 cents. Everybody has their opinions, and that's what's good. And like that's what we're doing. We're being human beings as adults, and we're communicating. Yet we may not agree on everything, but we're not gonna make a big freaking stink about it. You know what I'm saying? And that's what you call communication. That's what you call being human, being mature, not letting, like what Walter just said, not letting old past grudges dictate how you're gonna live your life. You know, hatred, like I said, the 7 deadly sins. That's I always keep bringing that up, the 7 deadly sins and everything like that. So, but no, yeah, man. I mean, they leave it to Jedi to get really deep on that freaking
right?
on that subject.
Jedi always
You know what
get
I mean?
deep on that.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how deep I get with these things. I'm just that philosophical. So.
No, that's good. No, yeah, but
Jedi likes to get deep.
Yeah.
Wow,
I can make a joke there, but I'm not going there.
Are we back at G-Fest? Yeah, we're back in G-Fest.
We're back at
Oh, no, we're back at G-Fest. Whoops.
No, but okay, so I'll get to my number 3 real quick. It was a pretty small one, but yeah. So the Shobajin singing the mantra to help Mothra's egg hatch faster, and then boom, we got twins. So that was that's what I said. That we got twins, and that was cool. Like when I first saw it, when I very first saw it, I was like, no freaking way. I was a little kid, like happy that, you know, there was not just one, but there was 2, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then like it's like, come on, man. I mean, I got it. I'm just gonna say it outright. And we're all Godzilla fans. We all respect each other and everything. But I will say, this was one of the movies where I'm glad Godzilla lost. I'm glad Godzilla lost the battle. Like I was glad that he lost. Like, I mean, he didn't die, he wasn't killed, but he lost. So a lot of people, he lost.
I mean, he is the antagonist after all. So yeah.
I agree with you because he comes out in this movie 100%, like we were just saying, as the villain. But Anubis and I were kind of joking ahead of time while we're watching the movie, and I'm like,
we were doing totally like Mystery Science Theater 3000.
It was like repressed. but I said, you know what? Every time Godzilla shows up, everybody just gets defensive and they run away and they start firing things at them. Why don't they just ask him what he wants? But honestly, jokes aside, he really was an angry, destructive person, and Mothra is a beautiful, ethereal moth who I love.
But
he got so mad at the end. He's like, how is the cocoon? What? How? He was so mad about the little
fucking two little larvae floating in the water. Like, they can't fucking swim. They should be sinking to the bottom.
You see what I mean? And that's why I brought it up, because I know Anubis, it would strike a little bit of a nerve in Anubis, and that's what I'm saying. Like I Anubis, I love you to death, bro, but I'm glad Godzilla got his in this one, bro. I'm actually glad he got his, and it's like. And then come on, bro.
It's not his fault that he was in a drunken stupor and wrecked a few buildings. People taking it personally. Dude wasn't just minding his own business. Got wandered in there, and like, it's not his fault.
Oh my goodness.
I'm standing by that. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I have to agree though, too. Sci-fi, like they had some beautiful harmonization. The twins, the entire movie, and this kind of goes back to my 60s aesthetic. That's very popular in the 60s music, and I'm like, they're just taking this whole 60s thing, and I don't know. I really like this is the 60s like culture aesthetic. I don't know, like in movies. So when you see something done well and you have these twins and they're singing, and even the twins had like these mod looking outfits, if you think about it. I was really impressed. I love their singing. It was beautiful.
Well, they were a pop group, the Peanuts. So
were they really?
Yeah, the Peanuts. That's what they were.
I did not know that.
There you go. Omni dropping some bombs there.
Yeah,
I did not. That's why they sang so well.
Dude, that's one thing I could not stand about this movie.
In the 1960s.
Had to hear that song fucking 500 goddamn times throughout that movie. That was some bullshit.
What?
That fucking Mothra song shit, dude. I did not want to hear that 500 times.
It is.
I mean, I can play it for you again, man. I can play it for you.
Don't gotta
get there.
It would be cool if you played it because I like it.
Look, my older brother, he's not the biggest Mothra fan. Go ahead, Kevin.
No, I'm saying I would rather hear the Mothra song 10,000 times than the King Caesar song. That song does me head in.
But see, you only had to deal with that once. That's this movie, man. I swear they were playing it 100 times. It's like, I got it the first time. We don't need it again.
But they need to sing it because they need to encourage Mothra.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I was just going to say, my brother, he's not the biggest Mothra fan, but he actually likes that song, the Peanuts sing, the Mothra song. He liked it. Actually, I heard it say, Mothra. I'm like, my brother's singing this, so it's, it's influential,
Yeah.
I loved it.
I mean, it is. Like I said, I mean, like with Neko, I'll agree with Neko because Neko loves Mothra. I love Mothra. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a huge Mothra fan. You can call me a fanboy all you want. I don't care. But I mean, you have to really like the character. You have to like the movie. You have to like the aesthetic of the movie, the style of the movie. And it's like, I mean, I don't blame Anubis, man. I honestly don't. Like, everybody's gonna have their particular interests and their dislikes and likes. But that's not something that I'm like, oh yeah, whatever. I mean, you really. It's like me, man. Like, I can't like the King Caesar song. You know what? It's doable, but not something that I'll put on my
Severio knows.
Yeah, It's not something I'll put on my playlist.
I cannot
yeah,
stand that song.
Caesar, Caesar. You gotta love that shit.
The first time I saw King Caesar, I watched with Anubis. This was years. Like, I mean, we.
She's like, does this ever end?
I was like, what is going on?
but moving on to that.
Have to be on the bubbly.
You got it. You got the prosecco out.
Here he goes.
Here he goes, guys. This is where shit gets wild.
Despite all my grievances with Mothra, like I don't really hate Mothra, I don't. But it's not really my favorite kaiju of the whole universe, unfortunately.
It's my number one.
No, but it's not. There's nothing wrong with that, man. That's the thing. But okay, moving on. Omni.
Okay, number 4.
Now let's go to your number 4.
All right, I'm starting off this time. I think there's some good visual storytelling with Godzilla himself, because you never are specifically told why he pops back up after the storm and is making his way across Japan. But if you're paying attention visually, you can tell. Like, he doesn't wake up until after that incubator is built around the egg and starts warming it up. So he pops up then, and at first you might think it's just a coincidence, but then you realize that the whole time he's been traveling in the direction of that egg. And he smashes the incubator, and there's that great moment where after the incubator is crashed and everything, he's just staring at it, and the camera's zooming in on him, and you're like, okay, what's he going to do to this thing? Is he going to break it out of spite? Is he going to try to eat it? That something bad's going to happen if Mothra doesn't intervene. And you also put it together that maybe Godzilla popped up specifically because he was going after that egg. Although why?
Ooh, that's very observant.
It makes sense. And Omni, like, I still want you to add to that what you're talking about. But remember, I don't think, because I use the free version of StreamYard, and I did download that picture that you sent me of the tail hitting the incubator. And if you want it, I tried to, but like I said, I don't know why I'm having issues with the StreamYard. Like when I try to do the intro and everything, I don't know why. But anyways, there was a photo, guys, that Omni sent me about. I think that's what they used for when they did the scene where Godzilla's tail wipes out the incubator, like the out part about it, like the outer glass of it. Is that what it is, Omni? Yeah. Was that what they used?
There was a behind the scenes of that. There was a behind the scenes picture of that scene, and apparently, I think this was posted by someone else. I think it was the Godzilla Novelization Project that posted it on Twitter. But I grabbed it and sent it this way because it was on topic. The way they did that, it wasn't the guy in the suit swinging around. Somebody just had a prop Godzilla tail that they would bash into this thing. How's that for a job?
Yeah.
Right?
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why, like, that's what he sent me that, and I was like, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm sorry I couldn't, use the photo. The photo would have been a better reference, but that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I remember what Omni sent me that. So, thanks Omni on that, man. So yeah, that's a good thing. Godzilla did have more of a, can't say he did, like you said, he did have somewhat of a personality, but didn't really like, wasn't like Shin, or wasn't like, a lot of other Godzilla, say, types of movies that where Godzilla has no kind of personality. But this one, he did, like you said, he did have, like you said, he probably did have an ulterior motive and was looking for the egg, or was chasing the egg. So that does make sense, though.
And it's never outright stated.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Omni.
Plot points.
Yeah. No, go ahead. Go ahead, Omni. What you're gonna say?
I just said it's never outright stated, but it's told visually. So yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was a good touch.
No, yeah,
100%,
no, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then now, so kaiju goodness. Kevin, what's your number 4?
Well, my number 4 is quite simply when Mothra decides to go and fly and lay next to her egg, and
Oh, that's
obviously she
mine.
dies.
Oh, he stole yours this
Yeah.
time? Yeah.
Oh,
We're feeling all over
But I
the
have
place.
another
that
one. It's
is
okay. I'll have a
because
number
it's just
5.
like the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah.
I was
So
almost close to
that
crying.
for me.
Of course you were.
So
Stop making fun of me.
so
Come on,
Tear it up
man.
now, just thinking
like,
about it.
obviously we see
Yeah, but I know.
It's a somber.
like
It is a
we
somber.
see obviously
Everything for her.
Mothra. So Mothra obviously left Infant Island after being persuaded for the greater good, and she does she battles
greater good.
Godzilla, to have final breath, and then she decided
Yeah.
to lay down next to her babies, basically her egg, not knowing. Well, this is a thing, you don't know if she did know if they were twin in the egg or not. And then obviously it's the first time really in the first film, Mothra was, you already had like some feelings or felt a certain way for the character of Mothra. But then to see
You
her
already know she's
then
maternal.
obviously yes. And then to see it again, like on a bigger level after battling Godzilla, just made it more, like you see, poetic and more, sympathetic and more wanting to want Mothra to win and want Mothra to survive. So obviously after the larvae are born, you immediately, feel, in a certain way that you want them to survive and you want Godzilla to lose. And I think that was the turning point where you wanted Mothra to win. It's not like what happened with Godzilla versus King Kong, where when they're tumbled off the cliff and you seen Kong swimming away, everyone was pissed that Godzilla had basically lost the battle. Where this one, everyone was cheering on, I think, when he fell off the cliff at the end, covered in the silk, in the larvae swam away. It was like the opposite of that, but this time instead of being pissed and in absolute
Because they're like,
foaming,
you're so mean, Godzilla. I know.
you were happy that he was the loser at the end of this battle.
Yeah.
I was.
No, yeah. I mean, it's. I mean, go ahead and elaborate on that since it was also one of yours, Nico.
Well, it's just so emotional to me because it's. I mean, let's be real. I'm crying over a giant puppet laying on an egg, and I have some kind of connection to a pretend gigantic moth. I just.
It's maternal instinct that kicked in, I think.
But I'm not a mother. I honestly don't know what it was when she just was breaking down, and then the way she landed just so, and then like the egg is just tucked under, and my heart just broke for her. I on a lighter note, I did have a backup fourth, which was one of my favorite things about the kaiju movies and also kung fu movies and a lot of movies that were filmed in the 60s and 70s is the abrupt ending. It just says the end. It's over.
The end.
There's no like, oh, we have some kind of like conclusion. It's like Godzilla off the cliff. There he goes. Baby Mothras go swimming. The end.
Well, I think you know that whenever the group of people start saying goodbye, that's it's over. At that
the
point.
end, and then pops up the end. And I love the end. Anubis and I always joke when we watch, old kung fu movies, and it's like when they complete whatever quest they're supposed to, the end.
Dude, sometimes it's just like they kill somebody and that's it. It's like he's dead and it's done.
So I do appreciate I love the abrupt ending because nobody does that now. I mean, every movie has some kind of like, it has to have a bow on it. It's complicated. You go on and on and on. But
oh, you just see her when she talked about Lord of the Rings. She's like, this movie ain't over yet. Too much shit going on. What are they doing now?
I do appreciate the quick ending. I do.
Yeah.
The movie's over. The end. That's all I need.
Oh my god.
Well,
Okay.
on that, Neko, before I move on to Anubis's fourth, I was gonna ask with Omni, like Omni, did you actually prefer the quick endings too back then?
I do think there were times it was appropriate. I mean, not everything needs to have like 2 or 3 scenes during the credits and then after. Sometimes it might be a little too much, like you're getting into it and then suddenly you're like, whoa, whiplash, that's the end already? But I do think the more we've seen movies that refuse to end and just keep setting up what's coming next and what's coming after that, now I can look back and think it's nice to actually have endings, like definitive endings, even if I know there's a sequel. So, yeah. I just have an appreciation for that.
Yeah, I wanted to ask that because I honestly like No, go ahead, Kevin.
No, I was just gonna say I quite enjoyed the quick endings because if you think about the kaiju movies, you have your start, your middle, and your end, and then you have your beginning plot, then the middle plot, then a grand finale with a big kaiju battle, and that's all you need, and then it's a quick ending. Thank you very much. It's not like, say, the Lord of the Rings, like the final film where the ending just went on and on and on and on, and then you're like, what? Can you just fucking finish? I'm busting to leave the theatre and go for a piss.
Yeah, but then it's
but then you're stuck there and you're holding your nutsack and you're desperate for a piss and you're like, please end. But then you don't want to get up because you're frightened to miss anything.
If you're that worried,
you're frightened to miss anything.
If you're that worried about it, you have an empty cup in the theater.
And you don't have to worry about that with a kaiju movie.
Oh God, kaiju goodness! Thank you for bringing that up. Thank you.
Yeah,
yeah, man. Okay. Anubis, you're number 4, bro.
Well, speaking of quick endings, is it any worse that Godzilla got beat by a couple of like larvae, like basically web jizzing all over him before he fell off a cliff?
No,
I mean, that's fucking the epitome of a quick fucking ending. Okay. I mean, that is the ultimate scene in this movie.
All I can
like,
see,
just got sprayed with the
all I can see, it must be good
and fell off a fucking cliff. That's what it's all about. I mean, that's all it is.
It must be some pretty good jizz.
Well, apparently he didn't like it because he didn't like it at all.
Oh man!
Godzilla to make him go away.
So Anubis obviously is still salty that Godzilla lost to 2 larvae. So yeah. Okay.
And I'm
Noted.
2 beers in, so I'm feeling saucy.
So
you about it.
have to understand, 2 beers for Anubis is like a lot.
Well, that's because I'm drinking the good shit.
No, it's 2 pints too. He gets it in pints.
That's
so.
like a 12
Good.
pack. That's like a 12
It's like a
pack.
12 pack, but it's real. I mean, Anubis isn't a big drinker like me, so for him to have like 2 beers is
Yeah, like these 2 motherfuckers right
me and Kevin.
here.
That's my
Like
boy.
these 2 bitches. They can like
Wow.
drink
How
like
much prosecco did we
2
have?
kegs and shit and all that. And they're just
Yeah.
ridiculous.
And
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah,
even.
no,
I'm
look.
not even.
That was
Go
a
ahead, go
funny
ahead.
scene. That was just funny to me because like it's not a matter like you gotta suspend disbelief a little bit when you watch kaiju films,
Yes, because
So-
they're giant monsters walking the earth.
right? And there's a lot of disbelief with this one, so I just have to kind of
It's still
live with it. It is what it is, but
Oh my goodness.
yeah. So that's just it was the only thing I could think of for my 4th, like whatever.
I'm just mad. I'm still mad. Godzilla shouldn't have died. He shouldn't have gotten beaten. Man. That's
He didn't
Anubis.
die.
That's right.
Godzilla didn't die.
Well,
he
he
didn't
got
die.
beaten.
I didn't die. I just got jizzed on. I mean, I don't get it. Like it doesn't make any sense.
And then the end, so he can go away and rejuvenate.
Walter can't even contain himself anymore.
Look, you keep saying this, dude. I'm losing it right now. Somebody mentioned that with a kaiju, say you jizzed on over. I'm like,
He's been saying this for days.
And
Oh
now
my
the-
god.
Everybody's head.
oh god.
Godzilla got jizzed on. That's all I've been hearing.
Oh,
Okay, so now Jedi, what's your 4th, man?
if I can keep myself from crying, man.
Jedi is going to be something like really emotional and intense and prolific.
Jedi's gonna do a deep dive on what I just said, and like basically.
Speaking of jizz,
No. Let me. Okay. I'm sorry. This is messing me up. See what's up?
There goes DJ Anubis ruining the fucking video again.
Okay.
Definitely an abrupt ending for this
Okay.
video, just to cleanse everyone's mind.
Okay. My
what
fourth.
you saying, Sassy? What's up?
Okay. Get my 4th one. Okay.
Okay.
You kind of mentioned it, sci-fi, so I'm gonna elaborate a little bit more because, and I'm like Nubis said, I'm about to get deep on this one. Okay, when they dropped the nets on him to electrify his ass, Godzilla. Okay, they got him on the ropes. They got him. They have him. This is the part of where I feel as human beings we get like this. Some of us.
Oh, go here.
We get so overzealous. We get to feeling ourselves, and the general tells him like, turn up the heat, turn up the power. One of his soldiers said it's already up to overload now, and they say raise it up. I was like, okay, this is what irks me so much about this scene because it's like y'all have him, y'all got him down, you got him pinned down. Y'all don't got to do no more. Y'all got to just do what you're doing. Do no more. But what did they do? They turn up the heat, and go figure. Man's fucking ignorance, fucking just just. I'm sorry, I'm getting kind of irked by this, but it's the fact that man gets like this.
Yes.
They're allowing their pride to overload themselves, which is what happens to the damn electricity. If it overloads, starts to melt, goes out, shorts out. And it's like y'all surprised that this happened? Y'all fucking let this happen. Y'all got full of your damn self, man. I'm like, what the don't let yourself get override with this pride. It's like, yeah, you got that, but don't fucking go overboard, I'm getting overboard. The point is,
He's
this is
getting
what I'm talking
overboard.
about.
He's fucking going
fired up.
fucking Foley on me. Shit.
I'm saying this is the part that kills me because it's like human beings. We do this so damn much. It's like y'all have a moment where y'all can win, but no, Y'all let your damn pride overtake yourself, and what happens? Y'all get your ass cooked yourself. You see what happens when Godzilla gets out of that? He fucking incinerates the tank right there. He melts them motherfuckers. And I was just like, there you go. This is what happens when you let yourself get overzealous and you fucking let that happen. But that scene right there is what I'm. Yeah. But that's my my fourth influential scene.
Oh, it's a good one, and I 100% agree. That's life. I mean,
Snazzy agrees.
Snazzy.
One of the many things I
What's
don't
up,
get about
Snazzy?
Yeah. I'm sorry for the language, Snazzy. I mean, I don't mean to be. I'm trying to keep it kid friendly, but sometimes it just gets on. Anyway,
okay, let's let before I go to my fourth, let's let Snazzy
Snazzy, what is your fourth?
elaborate on what he thought on and actually what Jedi just said about Godzilla, you know, usually almost getting electrocuted or whatever, but then men's overconfidence and pride end up just ruining it.
Yeah, and it's one of the first times it happens in these movies too. I mean, think about it. Does it happen in any of the previous ones? It's one of those times where you humans just let your better judgment go haywire.
Haywire.
That's nice.
Had to let Snazzy, you know, add his 2 cents.
We do love you, Snazzy. I'm sorry, we've been talking so much.
People say that the lizard brain is inferior, but it's the human brain that gets to those places.
That's true. Yeah,
I agree, man. I agree. Thank you, Snazzy, for your information and your info. It's always well
Back to
appreciated.
what you're saying, Century, about the 7 deadly sins. It's the pride, you know, like.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
This is a deep
I mentioned that a few times already. Yeah, I mean, and it's about a Godzilla, and it's about Godzilla, and it's like I said, 7 deadly sins: sloth, greed, pride, wrath. I mean, just lust. I mean, it's like that's the whole thing, man. There you go. But yeah. So now I'll get to my fourth because you know I really want to just pour my heart into this final. My fourth most influential moment, and that's when Godzilla gets his ass beat by 2 larvae.
Oh, no, you're gonna love this.
He's my friend.
He's
my friend.
Is real.
He gets blindfolded and he gets ganged on. He gets ganged up on by 2 little larvae that literally have him moving, and he wants to run away, but he can't run away because he's getting totally wrapped up in the web, and then he can't walk. He's trying to shoot.
He almost said it.
He's trying to shoot his atomic breath, and he can't even see. So I'm like, I mean, yeah, man, it's in my
eyes. It's in my eyes. It got me in the eyes. Oh no.
Oh my god.
What a world!
Oh my god. Only guy No.
You know, I love you, my brother.
It was the porno they made. They never intended to make.
I mean, I understand Anubis's frustration, but I don't care.
She's like, I'm gonna soak this in because actually somebody is agreeing with me that Godzilla got his butt kicked, and he did, and it's okay. It's okay. He didn't die. You know, and he came and pretty much was almost MVP in Ghidorah, the 3-headed monster. So I mean, he was pretty
not the bees.
Long term, one of the larvae died. So
there you go. Yeah,
because there's
one of the twins. Yeah,
I think it's the one that took a beating in this movie. Actually, now that I actually look at it, because one of the larvae gets the snot beaten out of it before they double team him, and I think that's the one that didn't make it to Ghidorah.
But they both swam away.
Here's a question: what if it was not the one that got beat up the most that died? What if it was the other one?
It did.
Yeah. Well, imagine. Well, imagine, man. You think? I mean,
Well,
who would want to take on?
you ever-
Who would want to take on two Imagos? Who would want to take on two Imago Mothras? Who would want to literally? Which kaiju would literally want to go against two Imago Mothras at once? Which is like, yeah, that's old. That is like a beating. That'll be an ugly beating for any tough monster. Godzilla couldn't take two Mothras at once. Couldn't take two Mothras at once.
Have you ever noticed?
I mean, just
I don't think that was quite the party that Godzilla wanted. Really.
I don't think it was either. Sorry, Godzilla. Not sorry.
No. Have you ever noticed though, whenever a film features two larvae, the next film it's either the large winged Mothra, the Mothra, or you never see the two larvae again. You never ever find out what happens to both. Because you would think technically, because there's two, there would be two Mothras. So I've got a theory. What happens is they both wrap themselves together in a cocoon, and they both form the new Mothra. They both become one and form a new adult Mothra. That's the only way I can think around it, because otherwise you would have two Mothras.
That is a very David Cronenberg theory right there.
Yeah. It's not far fetched. I mean, it does make sense. I mean,
yeah, but doesn't like like the Astro Monster or King Ghidorah take place after this? So there's only one larvae.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the only other time we've seen two larvae is in Tokyo SOS, and that never got a sequel.
Yeah.
And the closest to two Imagos was Batra and Mothra. That's the only closest to two Imagos, which is Mothra and Batra.
Mm-hmm.
Where Godzilla again gets his ass handed to him by two Imago.
By two moths, baby.
Fucking two moths. Not even two moths, two fucking larvae.
Baby moths.
Yeah, Batra's more than just a moth.
The equivalent of like maggots, basically.
The news, I don't want to add insult to injury, but I'm kind of glad that Godzilla did lose in this film. I'm sorry. I mean, because he was the bad guy. I'm sorry.
Man. How can he be a bad guy? Like I said, he woke up from a slumber, man. It's not like you try having someone bite your tail or like shoot shit at you all day. I'd be mad too.
I get it. You trip over, you fall into a nuclear power plant, then shit gets fucked up, and that's just you're a threat. And then
he can't help it. He can't help it. He has big feet and steps on people's cars. It's not his fault.
God. I absolutely loved so many things about this movie. Like, they really took the panic to the next level. Like, every time they're like, Godzilla's around, it's like, bah! And then people are piling into cars. And then when they're kind of like by that village, like the small village, it's like, oh, there's Godzilla, and everybody's running around. That's like, I don't know. I love that in Godzilla movies.
And yet the newspaper editor is meaner.
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah.
The newspaper editor, he's meaner. We know this.
He is meaner than Godzilla. You're right.
Godzilla, see who wins.
I mean,
I'd feed him to Godzilla.
But in all honesty, man, like this movie. It had a little bit of everything. It had its some, not so much comedy, but it did have a serious tone. But then it mellows out, starts as a slow burn, and then it gets more into, like we said, the 7 deadly sins, and then greed, people trying to take advantage of other people not getting paid, people. It's just it's everything about that. It's like, and then the battles, the fights, Mothra dying. It's like, I mean. It has to have some sort of drama in it, and it does have to have some satire. That's why I really like this movie, because it gave it not only that, but it made Mothra pretty much Godzilla's second because Mothra is considered probably one of the higher, more favorable and famous Toho monsters. Ever since that happened, and Mothra is very popular in her own right, has her own fan base, and I mean that's the whole thing, man. Not just me and all of us here, except for Anubis, but because Anubis is still sour, but but I mean, Mothra is loved by Philippines, man. So but I love you, Anubis. Just want to say that I love you too, bro. So, but anybody's last thoughts on the film as a whole?
I love it. It's a kaiju movie. I love it.
Same.
No matter how the ending sucked, but I love it.
It's one of those treasures that you treasure.
Yeah, I know. I'll let Walter, and then Walter, Omni, and then Kevin.
Well, like I say, I mean, if I said it's a treasure that you treasure, because when I first saw it, it really surprised me more than anything, because I figured like, okay, it's going to be this, but it really, as you brought out all the things that talks about, that you wouldn't think about, the philosophical, the capitalism, all these things embedded in a kaiju film, and you realize, and I told you before, it's funny how the kaijus are not the more thing that gets me. It's the human aspect that actually brings out a lot of the things that we was talking about, and I realized that somehow the kaijus are really, if you think about it, they're more but not more or less threatening. When I say threatening in mental state than the human beings, because the human beings are the ones who are actually making things happen to a degree. Because there's a reason why, certain things happen because of in the back because of capitalism, and all these things.
Yeah, they
but
could have just
the fact
given
that
the egg back, and they didn't. You're 100% right.
Here's a question for everybody, because Walter brought it up. In the modern age with MonsterVerse and everything, the debate's always been about, kaiju monster film screen time versus human plot lines. So where do you stand on it? Like we know -1 is coming out soon. Chances are it's going to be a heavy human plot line.
Looks very impactful.
But some people complain about King of the Monsters, not enough monster time, yada, yada, yada. So where do you guys stand on it in terms of like how much you want of the human plot line versus the kaiju fighting? Like, because like right now, like Walter brings up a great point about like the underlying issues within humanity versus what's going on in this film. But if you listen to people today talk about it, they don't seem to like a lot of the plot lines or the human screen time. So where do you stand on it? Like, what do you want out of like the kaiju films, no matter if it's past or present? What is it you're looking for?
Good question.
Omni, you go first.
Yeah.
Well, I think ideally you strike a balance and you interweave them together. And we've seen plenty of movies to do that. This movie was a pretty good example of that. The Heisei Gamera trilogy is an excellent example of that. GMK, all those things. But I think if you set those aside and you ask if I have to pick one or the other, I've thought about this for a while, and the reason I think people come for the monsters and aren't as interested in the humans is because, well, first of all, the monsters are what make the genre. I mean, it's called Kaiju Eiga. It's right there in the name. But I think also because the monsters technically are the main characters, and they're the ones we follow throughout. Like, we can have returning actors throughout movies. I mean, how many different versions of Akira Takarada are there in the Showa timeline? There are like dozens, right? But he's a different person each time. But when we're like, the humans are there for their particular purpose, they move the plot forward. But bigger picture sense, it's the kaiju we follow. And sometimes, let's be honest, what happens with the humans isn't necessarily that interesting. And when the human side falters, we can at least count on the monster side to pick things up, because there's still some interest to be had there. We've got the connection with them. We've been following their stories. So, I mean, like I said, ideally, you want to have them both be good. You want to have them interwoven to the point where you couldn't possibly remove the monsters or remove the humans. But I do think that since the monsters are the reason the genre even is what it is, and why you never confuse a movie like Godzilla for a movie like Twister or something, I mean, I would skew a bit more towards the monsters by default. But that's not to say I'm completely opposed to the idea of having humans in Godzilla. I like good human characters in Godzilla, but human characters come and go and aren't always that interesting. The monsters, they stick around for the most part, and they usually are more interesting. But that's me anyway.
No, good. No, very, very good. Very, very good information. I tell you, very informative, man. It's always a pleasure and a privilege to have Omni on here, man. Now, Kevin, let us have it, Kevin.
Well, for me personally, I think it depends on what kind of film you're trying to make and what kind of plot you're trying to tell. So, for example, like's been mentioned, it's always the kaiju will always be the main star of the film, but you can make a good human story around the kaiju. It just depends how you get the balance.
Yeah.
So for me personally, I'm more of a fan of the more deeper, darker tone kaiju movies. So like 1954, that's always going to be my go-to, because it was, even though it was about Godzilla and he was the title of the movie, was Godzilla the main star of the movie? I could quite easily say no, he wasn't, because it was the story they told about Hiroshima and the effects of the atomic blast, and you know, the radio, you know, the rest of the main plot. That was the real monster, not Godzilla himself. And that had a
Godzilla
great
was the
mixture of, yes, he was the metaphor.
Yeah.
So, you know, I like that aspect of these movies, but then I also can jump the other way and go monster movie where it's just batshit crazy, like Godzilla versus Megalon. You know, it really depends on the audience, and it really depends on what you like in your movies.
Yeah.
And so I've always liked the darker tone movies like this. I always say Godzilla 2014 is my favourite. It was the first one, but you could tell Gareth Edwards tried to pull different elements from previous movies like 1954 of what Godzilla is, the essence of Godzilla. Then you had Michael Dougherty, who made King of the Monsters, who basically, he is a fan who writing a love letter to all kaiju fans, and especially Godzilla fans. And you could see, you know, who have as many influences and Easter eggs hiding there, and it was a beautiful film. And then you had Godzilla versus Kong, which delivered in the action, but put an over the top human plot. So for me, in my opinion, it depends what individually into your films. I'm more of a fan of the serious tone films. But if you're like somebody who just wants to say, I couldn't give a flying fuck about the humans, just fight, you will find that, and there will be those kind of movies. But I've always been, like I say, a fan of where they use the monsters. Yes, it is about the monsters, but I've always been a fan of using the monsters to tell a message. And that's the kind of kaiju film I've and that's what I'm more looking forward to with -1, because I just get this vibe and feel that they're going to use this to tell a very important message that's never been told for a very long time.
Yeah. I mean, no, like before I get to Neko and Walter, I'll just say this to make it fast. On Anubis's question, I'll just say this. I'm you know me, I'm always gonna favor the monsters. I'm gonna favor the kaijus, but nowadays the way they make movies, it's like it depends on what kind of kaiju movie or what kind of monster movie they make. That's gonna be, that'll have to that'll blend in with the movie, like, because you could have, like, say, a regular movie, like a smaller monster movie, like which was the one called. There's a few that were good that came out, but it's like it depends on a good story. Like, I mean, now it's like nowadays it's like they'll sacrifice a good story to get more kaiju time or more kaiju fights. But then I wouldn't really want to just do that. I mean, I'm always gonna go for the monsters. I'm always gonna go for the kaijus. But if they can make the story at least decent, then that's my opinion on it. Go for it, Neko.
I agree with you both, because I fell in love with the first legendary Godzilla movie. Like, watched it over and over again, and I feel like it had like a nice blend of story for the kaiju and for people, and these were people I actually cared about, and the story itself also had, again, at the beginning, with all the backstory about Godzilla and the nuclear testing and all the Easter eggs, like when you're in the schoolroom earlier on and you're like, oh look, that's Rodan, that they made little origami of. But I feel like that's the type of movie I like. I'm not saying I did like King of the Monsters too, but I feel like they just wanted to show off how nice that they could make the monsters. Like, hey, look, these monsters look really, really nice. And then they sacrificed on having a good story that was something that, people could, I don't want to say relate to, but I felt more related to the first legendary than King of the Monsters. But for me, if you're going to be blatantly a kaiju monster fighting movie, then make it 100% a kaiju fighting movie. Don't even try to make people care about the humans. Just, have somebody be like, oh, look, monsters fighting, and then the monsters fight. If you want to have something like this movie, Mothra versus Godzilla, or the 2014 legendary Godzilla, those are movies where you blend in the human element and you blend in the kaiju element. And they're both very different. Clearly, they're decades apart, but you want to have something that makes you get interested in both sides of the story. And we've all talked about this today. We've all talked about how, like, we realize, like, the arrogance of man. We realized, oh, a kaiju can struggle too on multiple occasions, aka Godzilla, emerging from the dirt and Mothra like dying to protect her egg. Those are all real stories that you want to tell. If you're gonna do the blend, you want to blend it like that. If you're gonna do just a human movie, just get the kaiju out of there. But I also do enjoy like just a bunch of kaiju fighting, but honestly, I have a divide. Like, you either need to do it right or just have a bunch of monsters fighting. And that's my opinion.
Yeah. No, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, good. Like I said, I mean, I agree. I totally agree. Walter.
What I got for you? I'm kind of like Thanos. But things are perfectly balanced. You have an array of what the human element is, but also with the kaiju act, And to me, I feel that don't sacrifice the story unless you're gonna. If you're gonna have the blend of both of these things, make sure the story is perfectly balanced. That you get, it's kind of like frosted mini wheat. You know, it's like frosted on one side for the kid side, and, weedy on the other side for the adult. Basically, what I'm saying is, it's kind of like the Dark Knight. You get a good story, good action, but you get very interesting characters also. And I feel you have to have that balance, because if it's so off, it's like you totally get lost. Like, okay, what am I focusing on? What am I looking at? It's like you kind of get lost in that. And see, to me, that's something that's always been, I feel, always been with me always since I was a kid. Because even as a kid, when I saw my first film, when I saw Star Wars for the first time, it had action, but I was still invested in the characters. I love the characters and how their moments and what their motivations were. And when I saw a film years later, when I was in my 20s, I was like, this is all action, but it's like the characters, just like the story is like, okay, what am I watching? And sure enough, you do have your dumb action films. You do. I mean, you do go for that sometimes, but me personally, I need to digest that moment where it's like, am I invested in these characters? Am I invested in this story? Because when I'm not, it's like, okay, I get lost in that. And to me personally, you have to have that balance with both that, with the kaiju, and with the people. Now, true enough, as Nico said, if you're going to full out with the kaiju action, fuck the people, just get that in there. Just have the kaiju set in there. But I personally, I guess because being human, like all of us are, we need that kind of attachment. We need that kind of, thing to kind of bring us into that. I mean, true enough, the kaijus bring out something about us, about humanality, about who we are as human beings, the humanity of everything. But you still need that basis of who we are with the human characters to kind of give that kind of outlook, So I feel like if it's perfectly balanced that way, great. But if it doesn't turn out to be like, okay, you're just going to sacrifice one for the other, okay, just make sure that it is interesting all the way. And hopefully, as Kevin was saying, it was enjoyable to watch. Whoever's watching it liked it, go for it. But totally for me, I like it to be perfectly balanced with both sides of the spectrum.
Yeah. No, yeah, man. No, I mean, I agree with all of you guys, and that was a good question, Anubis. And yeah, man, I mean, it's hopefully they'll compromise and stuff, man. But besides that, guys, I mean, I wanted to just thank all you guys for joining the stream. My back and neck are freaking killing me right now, but
Good stretch.
But all you guys, like I said, Anubis, Neko, Walter, Kevin, Omni viewer, thank you guys for joining me on this podcast. I had a lot of fun, a lot of good questions.
Snazzy, don't forget
Yeah,
Snazzy.
a lot of good questions. I had a lot of fun. Of course, Snazzy, the MVP. Got to add Snazzy, the MVP. but no, man. But like, I mean, all you guys, everybody added their 2 cents to this, and even added more. And that was a good question that Anubis added. And yeah, like, and then hopefully -1 will. Hopefully, all these movies, the next movies coming up, will deliver what we want. I mean, hopefully they'll freaking find that recipe that'll do it. Gamera Rebirth was amazing. I loved it. So, but besides that, guys, Mothra versus Godzilla, aka Godzilla versus the Thing, is one of my favorite kaiju films, Toho Showa films ever. And I'm glad again, guys. Thank you for joining me on this podcast. And of course, the Sci-Fi Society, my crew, Anubis, Kevin, Jedi, Walter, Neko, Ryan, the Ami viewer. Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you all who stopped by for the comments. D Film Fanatic, Jose, Lone Wolf, everybody who supports and follows Omni Viewer, everybody else, man. Thank you all for watching. We are the Sci-Fi Society. We always keep it raw. We always keep it real. And guys, hold on, don't leave yet. And besides that, guys, thank you for watching. We're out.
Queen wave.
Mothra.
That whole story, like, that's pay-per-view, guys. Like, you don't get a lot of that stuff.
All right, one day.
That was pretty cool, man.
I especially like Godzilla jumping on Ghidorah. So
I did not see you do that punch before. That was so great.